Welcome back to Battle Boy TV. What's going on with the peoples? What's going on with the peoples, man? Listen, listen. First and foremost, man, thanks to the peoples that's supporting thus far. Um, I appreciate y'all, man. As y'all coming in, man, definitely hit the likes. Subscribe. Definitely set the notification bell off. To be in tune when I'm actually going up. Um, Y'all already know, man. Battle Boy, we on Battle Boy TV. We on stay woke or wake up type of vibes over here, and that's how it's gonna always be, right? But tonight, I'm actually doing a reaction to Sean Combs, The Reckoning, episode one, based off of what I saw, how it was laid out, how it was put together, um, in my opinion, pretty much. Um, First off, shout the fifth. Um, and I'm saying shout the fifth because I saw one of my comrades, right? Uh, you know, he made a post and he added 50 Cent, and he wasn't feeling the whole, you know, docu series on, what 50 put together when it comes to Sean Combs, right? But based off of what it is that I saw, me just giving y'all my opinion based off of what I saw, it actually stirred up some emotions in a sense of because I don't know Puff and I don't know 50, yeah. So let's get that out the way first and foremost. I don't know neither one of the two of them. Um, However, I did live in the era of the inception of Puffy's career, Love, Diddy, whatever you want to call him, as well as 50. Um, so I connect with them from that standpoint. Um, Growing up, listening to their music, reading on them in magazines and this, that, and the third, way before this internet stuff, right? So let me just touch on 50, right? I don't think 50 has anything personal against Sean Combs, right? I don't think he has anything personal, you know, against him. Um, Even if Puff had his BM or whatever the case may be, I don't think 50 is tender to that extent. Even though um, he can be uh, tit for tatish in a sense, But when he played, we know he played for keeps. Um, a lot of the times people think the guy is trolling or whatever the case may be, but he also you know backs up pretty much what he's saying, right? From the first episode alone, from what I gathered, right? Um, I feel I feel 50 is actually bringing everybody a up close and personal look at the person that we already knew was there, except with a magnifying glass, and not even only with a magnifying glass, with people that worked very close to Puff, that was associated with Puff from the beginning, the duration, etc., etc., right? But the way that the series is was being laid out for us to see. Um, it screams fifth. You heard? Um, it screams fifth. What stuck out to me instantly was when Puff said, while he's talking, when he's communicating with his lawyer, it looks like we're losing. Um, yeah, you took a loss with getting the time that you got, and you're lucky you got the amount of time that you did get. But it doesn't look like you're losing. This is definitely looking like you lost, champ. This one is looking like you lost. Um, Again, like I was saying before, like when we first started, right? Um, why it stirred up emotions within myself, and I guess the emotions got stirred up once Big and Pop came into play. But I'm gonna slow my roll and just backtrack, right? Um, so the reckoning, love and pain, right? Um, we get an idea of the person Puff truly is, before actually him getting the spotlight on him, and he start moving and shaking in the industry, and how he was raised. Um, that part, I'm sure a lot of us didn't know. That was definitely something that was good to attach to the docu series, because we see where Puff is at now. We just don't know where he came from besides Harlem, and hearing of his father, being a gangster slash hustler, or whatever the case may be. Um, Very interesting. As far as how it was put together, how he was raised by his moms, and how she was putting him together to be something. Um, Almost as if he had issues struggling with identity. Then once the actual power came along with it, with the money, then the ego took its own form, and he started puffying, so to speak. Um, by the time he actually links up with Andre Harrell, or whatever the case may be, now that part was a little bit even more interesting, because it displayed characteristics that um I wasn't able to actually see from growing up watching him or Fifth in the industry, or reading in magazines. So this is something that I wouldn't have gotten had I wouldn't have watched that episode, right? Um I think the aura of Puffy, the and I'm not choosing a side or whatever. Like, you know, there's no side to choose. Um, but so far I like the work of what's being put out there. But as far as like Puffy's character that we didn't really know of him, as far as like wanting to be the person with many hats, and wanting the actual spotlight that his artist was actually getting, knowing that he's supposed to be the man behind the scenes, or whatever the case may be, but you get so engulfed and see how much love, attention slash affection that the artist is actually getting, that you feel that that spot should be yours as well. Um, and I think a part in the episode that mentioned how he used to knock on Heavy D's door, you know, begging him to take him to Andre Harrell, or whatever the case may be. And once he actually, was able to be like in his presence, um, all those that he looked up to in the music industry, whatever was attached to them as far as female wise, like he'll just jump out the window and just feel like he needed to be the one with them because of him wanting to be in the shoes of the popular rapper at the time, the popular singer, the popular rapper being um Eric Sermon from EPMD, um with Misa Hilton. I never knew that that was his girlfriend at one point. Never knew that. Um I'll Be Sure with Kim Porter. Um to me to me to me that spoke volumes right there. Um Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Dig what I'm saying? Like a lot of the a lot of the picks that 50 chose to use inside the docu series, Puffy, from 19 on up, he's definitely giving off you know, mookish looks. Like he just doesn't look right. And I'm not gonna say that was the look for that era because yeah, Puff is older than me, but where I'm from, I definitely ain't see dudes, looking like that. So it's not and I'm saying that to say, not too long ago I mentioned something as far as him going through like the identity crisis on how his mother dressed him up to look a certain kind of way, like the Michael Jacksons and the other people, as opposed to letting him, figure himself out and, you know, get his own swag and become his own person. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that coming from that sense, making that comparison. Um, but for you to, you know, go the distance to um knowing that knowing that, Kim Porter belonged to Albie Shore and, you just being on her heels like that and you jumping out the window, you running, to whatever to make whatever happen for, whatever the case may be, like it just you just he's just looked at in a different light by me, you know? Because just when you thought that you knew an individual based off of events that took place within the industry, based off of reading certain things in magazines or whatever, you would figure that, all right, like, he's slime, but whatever the case may be. But this right here, it just magnifies everything that, this dude really is. And if you came from that era and if you followed, certain people in the industry like a Sean Combs or whatever, like um certain things make sense. Mind you, I'm only up to the first episode, right? Um, and again, I want to touch on, why emotions was stirred, watching this. Because during, that era of Puff coming up, I must have been a pre-teenager, early 90s, early 90s. I'm like 11, 12, 13 years old. You know, I remember the situation that took place with him throwing, that situation at the college and the people passing away and I remember all of that stuff, man. I was just a kid when it happened. Um and I think that's another thing that stuck out to me. For an individual like, Puffy to want to be in a space or in an industry where he felt like he belonged as soon as he started to like get traction or start building his momentum, death loomed him, you know? Um, that right there spoke volumes. And I'm only saying that in a sense because in the beginning of his career, before he quote unquote jumped off the porch, death surrounded him with those 9 people that passed away, that got trampled away. And, you know, I know it's not recent, but rest in peace to those that lost their lives in that. Um, and throughout his career, death continued to loom him. You know, how it's just ironic, you know. However, he was still granted access in the industry because of his hustle, because of his Harlem hustle. Um, and in my opinion, I think that's the only thing that he got that could um, connect him with Harlem. Is the hustle. Um, yeah, to me. But and I won't take that away from him. You know, he is a hustler. You know, if you're gonna go run to a store and back within 30 seconds to get something, you know, for Kim Porter, like you's a hustling dude. Like it's no wonder why you want to do is to, you know, walk to the cheesecake factory to bring back the cheesecake, etc. Dig what I'm saying? But so that right there spoke volumes when it came to him, and that's something that I didn't know of Puffy. However, yeah, he was still granted access to be in the industry or whatever, and you know, he was afforded a shot, you know, to make history. But you know, even with his co-founder, even with the co-founder, I forget his name, but it is the individual with dreads that's inside the docu series as well. You know, he's speaking and describing, you know, his characteristics on who he was as opposed to who he became, um, and how he was treated within the household, and how, you know, he was treated being around, you know, Puff or whatever the case may be. Like, you know, it's play by play put together on what helped build the man that, not gonna say we all grew to love, but I definitely love the music that I heard him create, um up until the shady business started taking place. And I'm not in the industry. um it was a no-brainer that, you know, shady stuff was going on, um again. But, you know, he was able, you know, and I yo, Puff, I thank you, you know, for giving us the MJB. Shout to Mary J. Blige. Dig what I'm saying? The Totals, the Biggies, the Craig Max. Dig what I'm saying? We appreciate you for giving us them, just not how you went about treating them and doing them. Um, the Black Robs, rest in peace, Black Rob. Dig what I'm saying? The G Deps. Um, we I appreciate that. Um, but you know, as it started getting into it seems as if once you started to like once he started to build his momentum, and I'm not even sure what it is Puffy went to Harvard for. More than likely business management, I would assume, and I'm not saying that's correct. I would assume, just based off of how he was able to finagle, swindle, and utilize his business savvy sense and what it is that he learned, um on a bunch of individuals that was just from the hood, that just wanted to get on, thinking that they was in good hands. You heard? Um, what I noticed a lot that kept sticking out was envy. envious, being envious. Um, from him running down Kim Porter, um, to running down on Eric Sermon and Miss Hilton inside the car, to him swinging on Eric Sermon, to going around the corner with him and then pulling out Biggie's, like, it's like Puffy is calculated in a sense, but knows the extent to go and knows how to get his foot in the door and finagle when danger is coming his way, you know, and was able to provide opportunities. But the opportunities on his end wasn't genuine, as you can see, like what Eric Sermon said. Um, Again, this is just me taking in all that I saw within that one episode, right? And again, me being, you know, a follower of, hip hop or whatever the case may be, especially the Puffies, being that, you know, he had the wave of those artists that we had, um, in our era. Um, but where the emotions started to like flip for me, um, was when, you know, he met Biggie and then Pop came into the situation. Um, for his, ex co-founder that, he laid the pressure game on to sign over his little, not I ain't gonna say little, because 25% in the company is some dollars, especially if y'all generating some bread, you heard? But for him to say that Tupac had a record, I Get Around, and you know, it was dissected in a way because, Puff wanted that formula. Um, it just it just says a lot, and it fills in so many blanks that a person like me from the outside looking in, a hip hop fan looking in, wouldn't have been able to, be able to be like, yo, okay, so, even though it's been in the air, I've read it in numerous magazines, seen it in little, you know, movies or whatever the case may be, but this one right here, like to have someone that was right next to him while, Bad Boy was being built, and for him to say it in the way that he said it, like it definitely spoke volumes. And even with certain clips that were shown that could mirror the envious ways, and not even from Puffy, you could see the defense from his envious ways from Pac, for Puffy's birthday, and Pac is on stage or whatever, and you know the narrator of the docu series is pretty much saying how Pac wasn't really checking for a Puff. And again, the word envy is coming out again because, you know, it's always been talked about for years, for decades, how, you know, well, it was portrayed as if Biggie had issues with Pac, but a lot of people didn't know that, that they was actually cool at one point. But when you have, a person playing divide and conquer, or whatever the case may be, like things get crazy, and a situation like what happened at Quad Studios with Pac end up happening, and things will look a certain kind of way. Um, and I don't know what it is about that, but I think Big is actually looking down at this docu series and probably smiling, man. Like, um, rest in peace, Big and Pac, the Gemini guys, you heard? Um, and I'm and again, shout to 50, for showing that critical point to show how cool Tupac and Biggie were, um, and how happy Tupac was for Biggie's success. Um, it's just sad that they're not with us here today. Um, and we all know that the music industry could be real shady, but never shady to the extent of where things went with, you know, the Bad Boy situation. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I don't like Puff, but I definitely stopped checking for him once Big died, and Big died in '97. Um, it's just so crazy that you move the crowd in so many different ways, and the people's actually supported you and believed what we saw because we wasn't next to you to know what it is that they knew, the peoples that was next to you. This docu-series, man, I believe the plot is gonna get much more thicker. um Fifth, I already know you know that you're a genius when you start doing one of these and start crafting your craft. Like, you put things together the way that you do. So definitely, again, salutes. But as far as you know, Puff having the best of artists that are pretty much, you know, legends in their own right. Um, Definitely the late great Biggie. Mary J. Blige is definitely legendary status. Um, but based off of what was showed on the docu series, right? Um, the arrogance and the cockiness based off of the position that you was in because you was afforded the opportunity to show what it is that you could do within the industry, and you made miracles happen. Again, I'm not taking that away from you. It's just that how you went about, I feel like how Puffy went about doing certain things with artists um outweighed the love that he probably felt he should be getting from the peoples. Um, I'm not even gonna jump into the little clips of the Cassidy video that was shown in a docu series because that's I'm just combing through, the greats that you gave a shot, but pretty much raped their pockets, and did so with a look of no remorse, not even a fiber in your body like really cared whether these artists that was putting all these hundreds of thousands and possibly millions in your pocket, like you could care less. These guys were actually going platinum, double platinum, and then it all became like a competition under your household, under your label, Bad Boy. So money was definitely being generated. What it is that you wanted to mirror coming from the West Coast, you definitely willed that upon, you know, Bad Boy Records. Um, but it comes off as if the more money that you came across is like the more grimy you got, the more boisterous and probably flashy, and like they said, the more money you got, you felt like you could you know buy situations, and and it I guess it works, man, for a time, you know. Um, again, shout the 50, man. Shout the 50. The way that he put and again, I only saw only one episode. Um, so far the, the chronological order of how Fifth put it together, and it's not like he put it together. He put it together to create a monster. Um, he's showing you who a person was and who they became. So it's not 50 putting a black man down or when he's down or I don't know. I don't view it that way. I think the very same thing that what Puff did with his artists is because Puff had the money to do what it is that he's doing. And I feel that 50 put this together, um, not in a sense of, getting him in any trouble or whatever the case may be. Like he's already doing the time that he's doing. So, um, it's one of those things like now let's play big bank, take little bank. And not even and slash 50 is one of those type of dudes that's speaking for those that won't speak for themselves. So much people that sign NDAs, um, scared to come forward to speak or whatever the case may be. As we all know, 50's not scared, um, and he can back himself up with the bag. Um, I think him putting this Netflix docu series together is him speaking up for the voiceless, for the naysayers, for the lames that seen and act like they don't see, for the deceased that never got a chance to speak, really. Um, the Craig Macks, the Pox, the Biggies. Dig what I'm saying? It's a lot. So I don't think it's something personal 50 got against Diddy. Dig what I'm saying? He's just speaking for those that I feel like he's speaking for those that can't speak for themselves, and it's like, look, I'm not making nothing up. Like I'm showing you my bad. I'm showing you the situation. I'm showing you the individual from then all the way up until you know incarceration. So you call it for how you want to call it. I'm gonna definitely follow up. I'm gonna definitely follow up with the second series once I actually watch it. Just to give my views and a little bit of a breakdown of how I'm viewing certain things. Um, but again, um, shout the fifth. Puff, hold your head the best way you can, you heard? Um, y'all already know, man. Stay woke or wake up, man. Again, everybody, set off those notifications. That way you'll be alerted when I'm actually going live. Tap the like, share, pull up. It's gonna get interesting on this side, man. Yeah, I appreciate y'all, man. I'm out of here, y'all.